Coming up on TekThing, can you block all the robocalls on your phone? Acer's affordable gaming laptop, dual booting Windows and Linux, and the most professional paperclip we've ever seen. All coming up on TekThing. A big thank you to all our patrons, especially Will Z, Daniel H, Carlos G, and Sebastian B. Join the crew that makes TekThing possible at patreon.com/TekThing, and you'll get to hear a special patron-only podcast this week.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Patrick Norton.
And this is TekThing, where we have something useful in every single show.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Especially today.
Still riding on the high of the angry cats and the enthusiastic dog snuggling next to each other.
Aww.
Notice, I'm not bleeding.
Aww.
This is a wonderful update in the canine-feline relations.
Wait, how
in my
long
house.
have you had the canine now?
Couple, 4 months, 6 months.
Okay, so about half a year.
Mm-hmm.
So the cat, do you think she's warming up to him?
Well, they play the touching game a lot. The dog's like, the cat likes to play the touching game.
Yeah.
And the cat actually has been whacking the dog on the nose, but
not with claws?
Exactly.
That's good.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yes.
So she, or is it a he, the cat?
The cat, she.
So she is just kind of warning, batting her.
Yeah.
Okay.
They seem to be developing a relationship.
Aww.
Except when the dog chases the cat like a squirrel.
I love kitties and puppies.
Aww.
All right, well, this show isn't about cats and dogs, even though we love our fur babies. This is actually about technology.
And this segment is about hate.
Yes.
Yes.
angry hate. So we got a tweet from Dan who says, I have seen a lot of apps that say that they can help block spam and robocalls on mobile. Wondering what you thought about them. Thanks, from Dan. That's a really, really good question, actually.
I also want to say that I don't know if Dan hates robocalls, but I do, so I may have been projecting.
Yeah, definitely. So like every other application ever, especially when you get on Android, it kind of depends on which one you choose. Robocallers, those are those automated recorded messages that call you. And then you have spammers. Those might include companies that you have given consent to,
Comcast.
maybe in the past, but basically spam via network-based phone calling system. So a lot of times, even if you block the phone number, they're going to come right back at you from another VoIP phone number, which really, really stinks.
Yeah, it's one of those cases where technology is so far ahead of your ability to fight the technology, and the biggest thing is like neighborhooding, where it's a local number. It's like, oh,
yeah,
they're in Oakland. They must be. And then actually, my favorite ones are getting Cantonese scam calls.
Whoa.
Yeah, because my number is associated with an area. My cell phone number is associated with an area in San Francisco.
Oh,
so,
I see.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a pain.
The worst case is fraud calls. In fraud calls, the best case, they might be crazy condo vacation sales scams, or legit, which is technically not fraud if they're legit. Worst case, though, is instead of fixing your computer, they empty your bank account, right?
Yep.
Or they call you up and like, we can reduce your credit card loan rates. We can optimize
So
your
irritating.
student loans. And they don't, or maybe they charge you for something you can do for free by typing into a form for a few seconds.
Yep, totally.
So it's bad.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, if you go over to the FTC website, which Patrick has over on his computer, they estimate that for robocalls, they have gotten 375,000 complaints every single month to the Federal Trade Commission last year.
Yeah.
That's so many calls. It's ridiculous.
It's not just us. It's not just you. It is everywhere. The estimates
bad.
I've read are like 30 billion robocalls went out last year.
Yeah. So before we get started into applications, there is one really good website. It's called DoNotCall.gov, which Patrick also has pulled up on his computer. This is a great place where you can report unwanted calls. They can verify registration and register your phone too, which will help kind of negate some of those calls that you're receiving to your phone, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So the nice thing about this Do Not Call list is since it is government affiliated in this case, it makes it illegal for telemarketers to call you and to bug you, especially at like certain times of the day, like dinner time, for example, when they just seem to always want to call.
Yeah.
They also have a great website that is the FTC Scam Alerts page. That is something that I think everybody should check regularly so that you know what kind of scams are trending. And that has a really, really nice list of all these different reports that they've received and things that they have been able to research and kind of alert everybody on. So the FTC is also working working through the federal court system to shut down or at least kind of beat up on some of the companies that provide the tools to robocallers, which is a wonderful thing. It's not every single day that I say, like, I'm really proud of what the government is doing, but this is very helpful because everyone experiences these problems.
They filed a complaint.
Yeah, they filed a complaint.
Anything that puts a hurting on somebody, for example, anything that puts a hurting on spammers makes me happy.
I'm all for it.
Unfortunately, lots of companies / scumbags ignore the do not call list. I've actually given up on answering any phone number I don't know.
Yep.
If it is a robocall number and I answer it, I usually get a flood of follow-up calls. Blocking numbers, kind of useless. Call spammers have, well, zillions of numbers they can spoof.
They really do.
Really big notification, heads up. If you do answer a robocall, just hang up immediately.
Yeah.
Do not press any numbers to prevent further calls. Do not speak. Do not take down a number to call them back to complain. Anything like that. Just hang up. Because if you respond in any way, that encourages the robocall service to try you again via a different fake number.
Yeah.
So robocall blocking apps, they can definitely be legit. Both the FTC and the CTIA have apps that they recommend. But let's talk about some things that have changed recently on the carrier side of things.
Okay.
Something that's kind of big is only recently, like as in November 2017, the FCC finally changed rules so carriers could actually refuse to connect a call. Legally, they are traditionally bound. They have to connect anybody who calls you. And finally, for the first time, they are allowed to be like, oh, okay, this number, we can block this. We can block these spammers. And the end result is AT&T and Sprint and T-Mobile and everybody else on the planet are offering tools for caller ID and to block scam calls. Some are paid, some are free. Time actually did an interesting sort of a survey, a roundup, where they had a company do like 8,000 calls and try to figure out which service did the best job at blocking spam calls. Yeah. And the clear winner in their test was actually T-Mobile. And
that's interesting.
It is interesting. Two of the basic things they have in there are Scam ID, and that basically lets you know that this is probably a scammer. And if you turn on Scam Block, it basically black holes calls that appear to be from scammers, and you never see them.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So robocall blocking apps, so you've got the FTC working on it, you've got the carriers working on it. You can purchase applications, or more accurately, you can download a free application, then purchase a service or pay like a monthly service fee to get added to a giant list of numbers to black hole. You get access to a giant list. Results vary a lot. Now, when you're talking about iOS, some of the candidates include Nomorobo.
Okay.
Robokiller.
All right.
Yes, and Hiya.
Oh, I've heard of Hiya.
Hiya's got 4.7 out of 5 stars in the iTunes App Store across like 94,789 ratings.
Wow.
Robokiller has 4.6 stars and 47,600 ratings. And you're going to need at least like $249 a month or $25 a year for the subscription on that.
Okay.
Nomorobo is not doing well on iOS.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, when you read the reviews of this, it's getting like 2 stars out of 5 or something
how
particularly
sad.
cool like that. Robokiller seems to be the app of choice if you want to use an application.
Okay.
It seems to be right now. It's one of the top. It's on the sort of upside in terms of utilities that are being downloaded, and 2, when I looked at the reviews, there's a mix of reviews on all these.
Yeah.
And the mix varies from this app is a piece of crap that didn't block any of the calls to this app changed my life and I can use my phone number again. And Robokiller had a higher balance of this app changed my life in the recent reviews.
That's good.
Well, but it's crazy because, your mileage is going to vary a lot on these. And I don't want to use an app. First off, I've actually managed to train myself into not answering strange numbers.
That's good.
Actually, it was kind of really hard. Since the age of 5, I've been required to answer the phone and take a legible message.
Yeah.
So
back in the day when we had house phones,
back in the
I had to do that too.
Back in the day before answering machines. First of all, I answer the phone compulsively. But it might just be that I'm lucky, but I've noticed if I manage to not pick up any spam calls or robocalls for a few days, I don't get any for a long time. Now, if you're getting 15 or 25 or 30 calls like this a day, I can totally see for $25 a year or $249 a month might sound cheap. Just remember that you're still probably going to get some spam calls through, just hopefully a lot fewer.
Yeah.
what I decided to do instead was to experiment with Do Not Disturb in iOS. Now, if you go into Settings and Do Not Disturb, you can choose who you allow calls from. All contacts, favorites, and no one. I actually have all contacts set up right now. I'm lucky because I very rarely get calls from folks I don't know. I pretty much add numbers in that I need.
Same.
And if you manage that, it works pretty well.
Yeah.
I will have to remember to add numbers if, say, I'm waiting for a call to pick up the truck when my tires are swapped. Otherwise, I'm going to have to remember to check the voicemail.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to look at all of the options. And it's also interesting to look at the stats from everywhere I've seen pretty much indicate that this is going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Yep. I've pretty much gotten to the same place where I will just screen calls. I won't answer them unless it's somebody that I recognize or they leave a voicemail. If they don't do either of those things, then I just pretend it never existed.
Yeah.
And if they persist, and if Google picks it up as if it is a spam call or a scammer, then I'll go into the settings for the Android telephone application and I'll just block it right there because Android does have that ability.
Yeah.
So there are ways. Luckily, Android and iOS are making it a lot easier nowadays in 2018 than it used to be. It used to be you couldn't even block any calls. You would just have to deal with it ringing.
Yeah, I don't even bother blocking calls because they have literally millions of numbers they can cycle through.
Yep.
And I've at one point in the early days when I was still compulsively picking up my phone, I had the same dirtbag sales pitch across 6 different numbers in the space of a week.
So annoying.
And that's kind of what finally got me to be like, it's gonna go to voicemail.
Tell us your headaches. We want to know, and hopefully we can help you fix them. Email ask@TekThing.com. We would love to answer them for you.
Yeah. You wanted to see budget-friendly gaming laptops. More, you cried. So this week, Shannon, what you got?
A gaming laptop that's budget friendly.
Wow.
And ginormous.
So
Ta-da!
when we say budget-friendly gaming laptop, are we talking like under 500, under 1,000, under 10,000?
I'm talking under $1,000.
Good.
So I've looked at, the Razer Blade, the Alienware 15. I mean, those are pretty common laptops that I've been playing with for the past year. They're amazing, really cool laptops, and they're gaming friendly, but of course they cost a lot of money. So I am on the hunt for like the perfect $1,000 or less gaming laptop that will probably end up making a few sacrifices. I'm aware of this. I will cut them a break since that's going to happen with that cost, but we'll still be able to play the newest games at a really good level. So say hello to the brand new Acer Aspire Nitro 5. So this was just released. This model is the AN515-5355G9. I know it's a super sexy model number, right? It's beautiful and it rolls off the tongue. It's so gorgeous. So it's currently available at Acer.com and Best Buy. If you get it through Acer.com, it's $849.99. But I'm always looking for the coupons, so Best Buy currently has it for $679.99. So
hey there.
A huge decrease in price.
Yeah.
Great coupon going on, so that's where I would buy it.
Is there an
personally.
actual coupon, or you just have to go to
No,
Best Buy?
you just go to the website and buy it there.
Well, you said coupon.
Well, I'm a couponer.
I don't want people looking for coupons if there's no coupons.
Okay, no coupon.
This is a classic big-ass gaming laptop.
Yeah, it is. And it weighs that way too. It's 5.95 pounds, which is heavier than the more expensive Blade, for example, at 4.25 pounds. And it comes in the one color, which is black with red accents and a nitro accent on the back.
No rose gold.
No rose gold, unfortunately. And it does come with a bonus slipcase, which is super nice since it is big and I would like to protect it if I'm taking it with me on the go.
If you don't have a big enough, I went to do a much smaller 15-inch laptop, and I could not actually fit it in no backpack.
Yeah, and that's a problem you're going to run into. Like, this is big.
That's a lunch tray.
This will not fit into my backpack. No way. It is 1.1 inches thin, which is really nice, and that does have a 4-cell lithium-ion battery on the inside, which equates to 3220 milliamp per hour batteries on the inside, and that's going to get you about 5.5 hours of battery.
Wait. It's got a battery the same size as my iPhone?
Pretty close. Yep. I know. 5.5 hours. It's entirely plasticky on all the sides, and you can really hear it when I click on it too. It's not that nice CNC metal like the laptops that I usually tote around, but of course, you got that price point going on.
This is even before the crazy Best Buy sale. This is half the cost of most of the gaming laptops you've looked at.
Yeah, it is. So you're probably wondering about the specs as well. It features a Coffee Lake 8th Gen Intel Core i5-8300H, an Nvidia GeForce GTX 1050 Ti, 8 gigs of DDR4 RAM, and a 256 gig NVMe SSD drive. The RAM and the drive are both upgradable, so you can get more RAM up to 32 gigs, which is great. So you can opt for another 8 gig and get it up to 16, or you can just replace both of them and get 32 gigs. Or you can also expand it with your own hard drive too. So they have a nice little slot that's super easy to get to on the back where you can just stick in an extra drive, so you'll have your SSD plus however much more storage you need. You could stick a 1 terabyte in there and be great.
Games take up a lot of space.
Yes, they do. So you can opt to spend more if you don't feel like upgrading it yourself to 512 gigs of storage, a 6-core i7 CPU, and 32 gigs of DDR4 RAM. Those prices for those models are not yet available on Acer.com though, so keep an eye on Acer.com for those.
They will be considerably more.
Yes, they will, definitely. So you're probably curious about the screen. It is a 1920 by 1080 60 hertz IPS panel. It's 15.6 inches, so it is very big, but it is full HD, and that's really nice. It's a matte display too, so when you take it outside, you don't get a lot of like reflections off of it or anything. It's very bright, which is wonderful. No touchscreen, no 4K options, not the best viewing angles either, but it does have a really nice bright appearance. So I did appreciate that. I figure if you're gaming on it, you're not going to be over here looking at the thing. So you'll probably be just fine with the straight on viewing angles that you get. Now you will also notice that the bezel is definitely very big, but it does have room for that webcam up top. And I know that's one of Patrick's concerns.
Well, once you've done a conference with me with the nostril cam,
yep.
You might understand why I'm a big fan of having the webcam on the top of the monitor.
So it did really well with playing video games as far as those specs are concerned. In 3D Mark, I got a Time Spy score of 2492, which is rather low, so I was not expecting much. In comparison, for example, my Razer Blade, which has a 1060 and a i7 7700 CPU and 16 gigs of RAM, that one does 3643 on Time Spy.
I don't think its numbers were that bad.
Not that
but
bad.
Compared to a considerably faster GPU and a faster processor, it lags. But it's 1080p gaming.
But it is 1080p gaming, yeah, it's full HD, which is great, and that's what the general population is going to be playing on. So I was able to play Destiny 2, I was getting around 60 FPS, and then it would drop down around 30 FPS during the really busy screen moments where I was like doing FPS shootouts and getting headshots and everything. Very rare for me to get headshots, but I was doing pretty good this day. It was smooth. It was very easy to play on high-res settings with 0 issues, no lag, so I was really, really satisfied with that. The fans do get very loud while you are playing video games, but they don't sound like a jet plane taking off, which I truly appreciate. As far as the ports, you get an SD card slot, which is wonderful, thank you so much. A USB 3.0 port, there's full HDMI 2.0, thank you again. Also, I'm not surprised it's not 2.1 because, well, the laptop's full HD, it's not 4K. There is USB 3.1 Type-C and full Ethernet too, and that Ethernet port is Intel Wireless AC 9560 with gigabit speeds.
Nice.
So if you plug it in straight to your router and your router got some gigabit speeds, you're good to go. You're going to get some really good headshots on those online games. Yeah.
Assuming you have a decent connection to the server.
That's true.
And you can actually get headshots.
The other side has a right angle power port, which is interesting. I've never used a right angle one, but I liked it though. It was very easy to use. 2 USB 2.0s and a headphone jack, and it also comes with Bluetooth. There is no NFC on board and no fingerprint reader. Little things like that that you usually get for the over the grand price point, you're not going to get in this one.
I've never used NFC on a laptop, and who cares?
The only time I've noticed people using it, I don't use it either, is with like the YubiKeys, because you can do an NFC one. The keyboard has a pretty soft touch to it. It kind of has a bounce to it. It's less clicky than the more expensive gaming laptops that I've tried. Yeah, try it. Isn't it weird?
It's
weird.
It's a keyboard built to a price point.
Yeah, definitely. It is backlit, which is wonderful. You can't change the variance of the brightness of the backlighting. It is just on with red or off with no red. And it's not RGB, it is just straight up red. So they are definitely going for a theme here.
Red.
And it does have a full-size number pad on the side, which is Robokiller. I love having that number pad on the side. It is so cool. Now the touchpad though, that felt kind of plasticky too. And when I click on it, it sounds plasticky as well. It's not as smooth to scroll around as a glass touchpad is. And that's something that, well, if you're gaming, use a mouse. Just don't use the touchpad at all. It's fine for like day-to-day use, browsing the web and whatever, but if you're gaming and you're trying to get headshots, like if the friction of your fingers and the moisture from your fingers is causing you to get jittery movements on the touchpad, just don't. It's a pain in the butt.
I can't even. That's what Shannon was saying.
I can't even. The downward-facing speakers are really nothing to write home about. They get loud, but they're muffled because they're facing downwards. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I definitely think this is a good product. I'm willing to spend more money if I can afford it so that I don't have to settle though. And that's a big thing for me. Like I don't want to settle, especially since I'm editing on this thing.
Right.
I want to play video games, but really I'm editing, so I have to use it for work. I'm willing to spend over that grand price point to get what I need and to feel comfortable with it.
And you probably spend about 15 hours in Premiere for every hour you spend gaming on your gaming laptops.
Yeah, totally.
And the difference between a Core i7 and 16 or 32 gigabytes of RAM and a massive SSD is the difference between, say, rendering a video in 30 minutes versus 60 minutes.
Absolutely.
So,
but you know, if you are a casual gamer not doing major video editing, then this is a really excellent choice. Not to mention a huge deal on Best Buy, like under $700 and you're getting a 1050 Ti. That's a really good price point. Not to mention full HD, like it's got a lot going for it. Of course, you are making those sacrifices that I mentioned.
I will say, having dealt with a lot of metal-cased laptops, as they get smaller and thinner, the nice thing about the big plasticky enclosures is they tend to have more give before anything inside gets damaged.
That's definitely
And they tend
true.
to be pretty resilient to, say, your freshman in college.
Yeah.
Or if you have kids that are using the gaming laptops in different parts of the house.
That's a really good point. I didn't think about that.
I've watched somebody...
You got kids, of course you're thinking about this.
Well, I watched somebody fold one of these in half in a terrible coffee shop accident recently.
Oh no!
Well, you know, you should always watch what you're doing with something. They actually managed to catch this and bend the top.
Oh
so,
no, I would be devastated if I did that.
They were pretty devastated.
Yeah. Well, if you are looking for other gaming or other like video editing laptop recommendations, or if you have any questions about what you can find for a certain budget, definitely let us know. It's something that we haven't really delved into too much, but I would love to see some more like under $1,000 type price points for laptops on here, because I know a lot of y'all are asking for them out there.
There's going to be a whole bunch coming this summer.
Oh yes.
So thumbs up for the budget shopper?
I would say thumbs up, yeah.
There you have it.
Yeah. Email us, ask@TekThing.com if you got any questions, or you can tweet us at TekThing.
Please do. We love your questions, your tips, and your suggestions of products and ideas to check out. There's so many of you, and we're listening. You can tweet at TekThing, at Snubs, or at Patrick Norton, or hey, just email ask@TekThing.com. TekThing patrons, patreon.com/TekThing, will have access to Shannon and I getting our patron-only podcast on this week. And next week, our $10 and up patrons will have their monthly hangout with us. Thank you all for your patronage. Patrons make the show possible. Join the crew that makes TekThing happen at patreon.com/TekThing. We understand if you can't donate. Seriously, keep watching, keep sending your questions, keep tweeting at us. If you can like our Facebook page or YouTube videos, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting TekThing, no matter how you do it. Frank emailed ask@TekThing.com and wrote, I'm about to start into the exciting world of Linux hacking and pen testing after attending a B-Sides event and getting to spend some time with Aaron Crawford. He couldn't say enough good things about you guys, and after watching a few videos, I felt I needed to reach out. Cool. So that being said, I want to dual boot a Windows laptop. Where should I start? What programs do you suggest? What distro? Any help would be appreciated. Thank you in advance, Frank.
Yay! Another Linux convert! I'm so excited. Frank, welcome to the club, one of us.
I feel like I should be doing jazz hands right now.
Well, thank you, Frank.
Yeah.
So to start off there, I'm going to just start up with like straight up laptops. There are a few laptop lines that specialize in making laptops that are Linux friendly.
Yeah.
One that I've reviewed in the past was System 76. They have this one called the Galago Pro, which is inexpensive and also very, very pretty. And it comes with the newest version of Ubuntu operating system on it, which is excellent. So from this year, it's the 2018.04, I believe. Another one that you might want to check out is the XPS 13 Developer Edition from Dell. This one is a lot more expensive, but it's also really, really nice for developers. In fact, the Hack 5 security developer that we have here in the office, he uses one of these and he loves it. I also have one of these that I've been using for all of my hack tips, and it's excellent for sharing education for Linux on. So really good option there. I haven't checked them out, but I asked some of my hacker friends for recommendations. One of the recommendations was from Origin. Now, if you look at the prices on these, they're a little pricey. They're in the like Dell XPS 13 range. So if you want something that's gaming capable, but is also good for Ubuntu, apparently these are very good. And I also heard that Gigabyte has some really excellent options for Ubuntu as well. So apparently these run Linux operating systems very, very easily. Now, if you are looking for an operating system, I do have a couple of options for you as well.
I just want to point out, part of the reason Shannon gave you a giant list of expensive laptops is because the biggest nightmare with Linux is having driver support for everything in a laptop.
Yep. Yes, it is. So getting one that's like ready and packed with everything you need out of the store is really nice if you just don't feel like dealing with dependencies and packages and downloading everything that you need for the specific software package thing that you need. So it's really annoying. Just buying one that has Ubuntu pre-installed can sometimes be very favorable depending on your life.
Somebody can get a distro to run on it.
Yes. So if you are starting off with a laptop that you already have, there are a couple of different operating systems that work really well for people that are completely new to Linux. The first one that I would recommend is Ubuntu for desktop. Make sure that you click on the little desktop button at the top of the Ubuntu website to find the ones that they have there, because they also have cloud server container options too. So lots of devs use Ubuntu options for these. They have a lot of download FAQs on their page too, as far as tutorials on how to get it installed and dual boot from Windows. So it's super user friendly, great for beginners getting into Linux for the first time. Penetration testers and hackers love this other one. It's called Kali Linux because it comes pre-configured with all of the tools necessary for the job. So if you are into information security, Kali Linux is probably the one you want to go to. If you are looking for other ones that might not be as loaded as Ubuntu, Linux Mint is a really clean, simple operating system, brand new. They've been going for a very long time, but if you're brand new to Linux, this is a great option.
It's Ubuntu, but more noob friendly.
It is. It's
really
very
nice.
noob friendly. And it's really pretty and it's so clean and it's lightweight, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. And the other one that I really like is called Elementary OS, and I believe Patrick had mentioned this one to me at one point, and it looks like a Mac. It looks like an Apple computer.
Yeah. I don't know if I care about that it looks like an Apple computer, though it definitely takes its visual cues from that.
Yeah.
It is really clean.
It's very clean.
It's one of the nicest distros in terms of visual presentation that I've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gorgeous. Like if I wasn't using Ubuntu, I'd probably switch to Elementary OS. As for programs, Google Chrome, of course, for online browsing, since it's going to sync with all your settings from another operating system, such as your bookmarks, your saved data from the browser, whatever you have saved, it's going to sync that information, which is really nice if you're going cross-platform. GIMP is the photo editor of choice that I'm a big fan of. If I wasn't using Photoshop on Windows, Photoshop is not available on Linux. Neither is Premiere Pro. Thanks, Adobe. Love you guys. Then I would definitely go with GIMP instead. VLC Media Player, of course, for all of your video playing needs. They also play music if you need it to, and Steam Linux Gaming. So Steam now plays video games on Linux. It's a little tricky to install. There's plenty of tutorials on Google that you can look up yourself, but it's it's a little tricky, but there are thousands of video games that can be played in Linux now. And for maintenance, the Ubuntu Cleaner System Maintenance tool is great for cleaning up old packages, and the Unity Tweak tool utility is awesome for customizing the look and feel of your Ubuntu operating system. And once you get ingrained into the world of Linux, take it a little bit further. Just jump in the deep side of the pool.
The deep size.
The deep size. Jump into the deep side of the pool and start learning how to use the command line and try writing your own scripts to automate things in Linux, because that is when the possibilities end up being endless and you can do some really, really cool stuff in Linux.
I feel like if you don't embrace the command line, you really just shouldn't bother with Linux unless you're just looking for a cheap or free operating system.
I totally feel the same way. Yes, CalSay is amazing, Logcat is awesome, but man, writing your own scripts is like where it's at.
If you already have a laptop and you want to experiment with it without any emotional trauma, well, basically, like almost all distros have a live disk version or a live.
That's true.
You basically buy a bunch of cheap USB thumb drives. One for Kali Linux, one for Mint, one for Ubuntu, one for Element, and you can basically boot onto that thumb drive, use the thumb drive to load the operating system, and then experiment. Like, does this distro work with my laptop? Does that distro work with my laptop? Do I like elementary OS? Is Kali Linux going to drive me emotionally traumatized over a bridge because it's super elite? And basically understand that you're going to spend a lot of time figuring out, like, how do I change the resolution on the screen? Where is this? Where is that? What do you mean I have to mount a drive? And just embrace the idea that you're going to be learning a whole bunch, and always have a second laptop or desktop, so that when you screw this one up, and eventually you will, you can look over here for the answers or to download anything you need to get that one back up and running again.
And real quick, the last thing I wanted to mention too, even though I completely forgot to mention it when I was writing my script, is omgubuntu.co.uk. It's an awesome, awesome site. They have tons of tutorials. There's all sorts of information on here as far as like how to do different things, how to upgrade to 18.04 if you're going from an older version. But it's all basically based on Ubuntu. So if you do go with Ubuntu, this is a resource that I've used for years for figuring out how to do different things, because it does get confusing now and then. Oh,
one last thought. Before you resize the partition to create space for the dual boot of Linux, if you're going to actually do a dual Linux window environment, make sure you back everything up.
Yes.
Because there's nothing more emotionally traumatizing. Yes. Well, there's a lot of things more emotionally traumatizing, but it'll really piss you off if you accidentally wipe out your entire Windows installation and all of your files because you made a formatting mistake or just something went horrendously wrong. So back up before you do that dual boot on that hard drive.
Well, let us know what you choose. I'm sincerely interested. I would love to see what you end up doing with your laptop, or if you end up purchasing one, and how you feel about it. Email me, ask@tekthing.com, or you can tweet me @snubs with any of your Linux questions. I'm big into Linux. It's what I've been using for I would say 50% of my time for the past 10 years, so I would love to know what questions you have.
Or tips.
Turns
out there actually is a bit in iFixit's Essential Electronics Toolkit, the best $20 you can spend for an inexpensive toolkit anywhere, that I can use instead of a paperclip when I'm resetting a router for the 8th time in 2 days. It's called the SimBit, and you can see it right here. There it is.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
It is beautiful. Which somehow, having used this thing every once or 4 times a week for pretty much since they shipped, I never actually noticed. Which I will say, derp.
Oh, that's so funny.
Mea culpa, iFixit. And iFixit, by the way, has a sense of humor, because when I tweeted out, how is it I never found the SimBit in my beloved iFixit Essential Electronics Toolkit? Turns out I don't need a paperclip. iFixit tweeted back, we leave the paper clips to Microsoft.
Ooh, shots fired.
No, I think they're in the spirit of the thing.
That's so funny. I love it.
iFixit has a sense of humor. Yet another reason to support them. That, if you've never been to iFixit's website, they have, I think, 25,000 plus repair guides, not just for electronics, but for all sorts of other things. They've been an advertiser in the past. We were buying tools and parts from them before they were an advertiser. They're good people. They're trying to keep stuff out of landfills and keep the things you buy repairable by you.
Which is awesome.
While we're thanking people, thank you, iFixit, Let's thank Hack5, hack5.org. A big thank you to Hack5 for the studio space. Do yourself a favor, check out the security and privacy podcast at hack5.org. Then go to hack5.org/gear to see some superior pen testing and USB automation tools like the beloved Wi-Fi pineapples.
Ooh, yeah.
The #1 rogue access point, advanced Wi-Fi auditing, actually a pretty monster tool, pair of tools to do some pretty cool stuff in terms of verifying what's going on in your network.
Not to mention, they taste delicious.
They do not.
Not really. All right, I think it's about time that we do something analog. So a few weeks ago, @Simon Zarafa did something analog involving a vulture and a raptor. But now he tweeted out an early birthday tweet for Yosef, this time with dolphins 20 miles off the shore of the Smalls Lighthouse in Pembrokeshire. And hopefully I'm saying that because I'm not English. I don't know how to say all your town names because they usually sound completely different than how they're spelled.
Oh my goodness. So if you're wondering where exactly that is, there's Smalls Lighthouse.
Oh,
So this is Poldark land. And Smalls
Whoa.
Lighthouse, yeah, actually Smalls Lighthouse is pretty crazy. What's really crazy, that's this stone tower has been standing. That's not a stone tower. This stone tower right back here, that's been standing since 1861, wasn't automated until 1987. And it's basically like 25 feet of rock, 20 miles off the coast.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Also makes me wonder who wants to go check out for the white sharks or whale watching out by the Farallones.
Oh my gosh. Wait, there's sharks out near the Farallon Islands?
Yes.
Of
This
course
is one
there
of the
are.
best places to watch the sharks.
Of course there are.
That's why they call it the red.
I am never going in the bay.
The surfers call it the red triangle.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, surfing in Northern California is a strong reminder of where you actually sit in the food chain, which is really low.
I learned
if you're in
something
the
new today,
ocean.
and I am never going surfing.
With that, I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Shannon Morse.
We'll see you next week on TekThing. Favorite surfing moment? Horrible day.
Have you gone surfing?
Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah, I learned how to surf like 20 years ago.
No way.
Yeah. We used to surf up at Bolinas, and Bolinas is north of San Francisco. And it was one of those days where you get up at like 5 in the morning and the sun's just coming up. Well, actually, the sun's just coming up because the sun sets in the Pacific and not like in the Atlantic. Yeah. And I was sitting there, because it was like double over Smurf. It was just a horrible day, but we were going to get wet. And I'm basically laying there just kind of like staring at stuff, like unfocused, waiting for something,
Something to actually happen.
maybe like 2 feet of surf instead of 8 inches of surf. And I hear a sploosh. And you don't normally hear a sploosh in the ocean. And I look over and it's 2 seals. And I realize the seals came underneath my surfboard. They popped up. And they literally, while I'm staring at them, they kind of look at each other and they disappear. And one goes this way and one goes that way. And I'm like, oh. We're going to paddle in now, because at this point I'm convinced that the only reason seals would get that close to me in the water is because they want something that's trying to eat them to be interested in me instead of them.
Whoa, dude, that is scary, man.
Probably
That's scary.
highly irrational, but I was just
No,
like,
but
yep, we're done.